The belly fat that builds around your waist after menopause is not randomly placed. Your body chose that address deliberately because a specific hormone told it to, and that hormone is still issuing the same instruction every single day. Think of visceral fat as your body's bunker supply. Cortisol is your oldest survival hormone. It reads stress, reads scarcity, reads anything the body interprets as danger. And it responds by routing emergency reserves to the deepest, most protected location it can reach, directly around your organs. Visceral fat carries roughly 4 times more cortisol receptors than the fat sitting just under your skin. This is not random distribution. It is targeted biological architecture, one that made perfect sense for a body living under genuine physical threat, and one that is working precisely as designed in entirely the wrong direction right now. The reason it accelerates specifically after menopause comes down to what estrogen was actually doing while it was present. Estrogen sat alongside your cortisol system like a hand on a volume dial, not eliminating the stress response, just keeping it proportionate. Cortisol spike from a bad night? Estrogen turned the dial back before it went too far. Stress from restriction, from hard exercise, from a week of poor sleep? Estrogen buffered all of it. When estrogen drops, the hand comes off the dial entirely. Cortisol responses that were once contained now run longer, peak higher, and reach the visceral fat depots at concentrations they never did before. This is why most of what women over 60 are told to do to fight that belly makes the problem worse. Eat less, cortisol spike, body reads famine. Push harder, cortisol spike, body reads survival event. Be stricter, cortisol accumulates, and the bunker deepens. Today, we go through the exact mechanism, why visceral fat is parked where it is, what keeps it sealed, and what specifically lowers the cortisol signal enough at this stage of life that the body finally begins to let it go. There is a moment most women over 60 can recognize without being able to name it, when the same discipline that used to produce results produces nothing. The system behind that experience is the HPA axis, your body's central threat detection network. Before estrogen left, it held a permanent moderating position inside that system. After, it does not. A study published in Psychoneuroendocrinology in 2014 confirmed that postmenopausal women showed significantly higher cortisol reactivity to identical standardized stressors than premenopausal women. Same inputs, substantially larger outputs, because the buffer is absent. Caloric restriction reads to this system as famine. Cortisol is the backup fuel mobilizer. When energy is scarce, it breaks down protein and raises blood glucose to compensate. Chronic restriction tells the system the scarcity is ongoing, and cortisol stays elevated as long as that signal persists. Hard cardiovascular exercise produces the same cortisol signature and, done daily without adequate recovery, compounds the load rather than clearing it. The discipline is not the problem. The signal the discipline is sending is. The reason visceral fat will not budge while cortisol is high is not willpower. It is a mechanical lock with 2 handles. Inside visceral fat cells, 2 opposing processes run constantly: lipolysis, which releases stored fat into the bloodstream for use as fuel, and lipogenesis, which pulls fat from the blood and locks it inside the cell. Cortisol activates an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase specifically in visceral fat tissue, which accelerates lipogenesis, more fat going in. Simultaneously, it suppresses the hormone-sensitive lipase that would allow fat to come out. Both handles of the lock turn in the same direction. While cortisol is elevated, the vault seals from both sides, more fat entering, none escaping, regardless of how little you eat or how hard you train on top of it. This is the mechanism most fat loss advice aimed at women never names, because most of it was not designed around the postmenopausal hormonal environment. It was built for a different body at a different hormonal moment, and then handed down as universal truth. I built strong past the drop specifically to address the cortisol signal first, because every structure I tried that skipped that step moved nothing. I watched too many women do everything right and see the belly stay exactly where it was, and I kept arriving at the same answer. The lock had to be addressed before anything else downstream could work. The protocol is on screen now if you want it, but the most powerful tool for lowering that signal, one most women have never heard described as a cortisol intervention, is the piece that comes next. There is a tissue in your body that actively clears cortisol from circulation, and most women over 60 have less of it than they know. Muscle is a cortisol suppressant, not metaphorically, biochemically. When muscle tissue contracts under load, it releases chemical messengers called myokines. Think of muscle as a broadcast tower that activates every time it works under resistance, sending signals to the liver, the fat tissue, and the brain. One myokine in particular, interleukin-6 released from contracting muscle fibers, which is chemically distinct from the inflammatory version produced by fat tissue, directly downregulates the HPA axis. It quiets the cortisol system at its source. Every contraction draws stress signal out of circulation the way a vent draws smoke out of a sealed room. Women who carry more lean muscle mass show lower baseline cortisol levels, not because they feel calmer, but because the tissue is physically and continuously clearing the signal. The legs are the largest muscle group in the body and produce the highest myokine output per contraction. 2 or 3 short resistance sessions a week targeting the lower body rebuild this cortisol clearing mechanism, and nothing else replicates it because the myokine response requires load-bearing contraction. Sustained aerobic effort does not produce it in the same way or at the same scale. But muscle addresses the cortisol load in the hours after training. There is a second trigger firing multiple times every day that muscle work alone cannot reach. Every time blood sugar drops faster than expected, your body sends a cortisol pulse. Cortisol is the backup glucose mobilizer. When blood sugar falls and insulin cannot manage the rate of drop, cortisol steps in to raise it back to safe levels. For a postmenopausal woman with shifted insulin sensitivity and an already elevated cortisol baseline, this happens constantly. After a high carbohydrate meal spikes and then crashes, after a skipped meal, after a morning of coffee on an empty stomach. 4, 5, 6 cortisol pulses daily, each adding to the chronic load without ever being recognized as cortisol by the woman living through them. She just knows she feels wired and tired, knows the belly stays exactly where it is, and cannot understand why. The interruption is sequencing, not restriction. Protein at the start of every meal slows the absorption of everything that follows. The blood sugar rise becomes gradual, the drop becomes gentle, the alarm barely fires. A short walk immediately after eating uses the arriving glucose as direct fuel before it fully enters the bloodstream. A 2022 trial published in Sports Medicine confirmed that a 10 to 15-minute post-meal walk reduced postprandial blood glucose more effectively than a longer walk taken at a neutral time. Same total movement, different placement in the day, entirely different cortisol consequence. There is a reason the nights get harder after menopause, and why addressing sleep directly almost never solves it. Cortisol and sleep run a cycle that feeds itself in either direction. High cortisol in the evening delays melatonin onset, pushes sleep later, and compresses the deep sleep phases. Fragmented sleep then produces elevated morning cortisol, which carries into the entire following day, worsening the blood sugar response at breakfast, reducing the effectiveness of any exercise done that morning, raising the cortisol load before noon. Each poor night makes the next one more likely. The woman experiencing it is not sleeping badly because something is wrong with her sleep. She is sleeping badly because the cortisol baseline never came down enough to let her. The intervention that breaks the loop is the one that lowers the baseline directly. Muscle-produced myokines clearing the daily accumulation, and stable blood sugar removing the nighttime alarm pulses. When the baseline drops over several weeks, sleep quality improves without being targeted, and improved sleep lowers the baseline further. Every element of this protocol that works makes the others more effective because they are all addressing the same root signal. Once the whole picture is visible, the pattern becomes obvious. The most common prescriptions for belly fat after menopause: restriction, hard cardio, stricter discipline, each add cortisol. And every increase in cortisol turns the visceral fat vault tighter from both sides simultaneously. More in, none out. Women who follow those prescriptions faithfully and see nothing move are not failing. They are running the wrong signal through the right effort. The reversal compounds the same way. Build the muscle and the cortisol vent opens. Front-load protein and the blood sugar alarm fires less often. Walk after meals and the spike barely registers. Baseline drops. Sleep deepens. Sleep lowers the baseline further. Over 6 to 8 weeks, the signal your body has been reading as chronic danger becomes quiet enough that the bunker has no reason to stay sealed. Your body is not holding visceral fat because it chose to. It is holding it because the signal it receives every single day still says the threat is there. Change the signal. You now understand why nothing moved, and what your body was actually waiting for before it would begin to let go. The gap between understanding that mechanism and knowing what to do on a Monday morning is what Strong Past the Drop was built to close. I put it together after watching women understand every piece of this biology and still not know what to build the first meal around, which exercises produce the myokine response for this age group, or exactly when to place the walk so it does the most blood sugar work. The protocol is 8 weeks. Specific lower body resistance work designed around the myokine output for women over 50, protein-first meal structures mapped day by day, post-meal walks timed to the moments that produce the largest glucose impact, and adjustments for the weeks when the body resists hardest. It does not ask for more restriction or more effort. It asks for a different signal. It costs something because getting the details right for this specific biology took real time. The link is on screen.